My sister wrecked my new car and smugly said, "Mom and Dad will force you to let it go." They tried until I showed them the insurance report. Her smirk disappeared instantly. My family? They'll tell you I went too far, that I severed ties over something trivial. But honestly, if given the chance, I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. Let me lay out the scene for you, introduce the cast of characters in this unfolding disaster, and then, perhaps, you'll understand. There's me, Riley, 28 years old, a nurse at St. Mary's Hospital, right in the thick of downtown Chicago. And then there's my younger sister, Madison, 24. Madison, who has seemingly floated through life on a cloud of good looks and our parents' utter inability to ever utter the word no. Our parents, Greg and Susan, are your classic suburban enablers, perpetually convinced that their preferential treatment of Madison is simply understanding her unique needs. The car, the catalyst for everything, was a 2024 Honda Accord Sport, that stunning sonic gray pearl color. I know, it's not a Lamborghini, but it was mine. Every single payment came directly from my bank account, earned through grueling overtime shifts, through holidays worked while everyone else was opening presents. I'd been saving for 3 years, driving a beat-up 2008 Civic that sported more rust than paint. I ate meal-prepped chicken and rice like it was my religion, skipping brunches and shopping trips with friends. That car wasn't just transportation, it was proof. Proof that I could set a goal and achieve it, entirely on my own. I picked it up on a Saturday morning in late August. The dealership had it waiting, complete with one of those big red bows on the hood, the kind I thought only happened in commercials. Marcus, my boyfriend of 2 years, was there, and I swear I actually cried when they handed me the keys. He took 100 photos of me, sitting in the driver's seat, grinning like an absolute idiot. That new car smell, the responsive touchscreen, the backup camera that actually worked, it felt like I'd finally joined the adult world for real. For 2 weeks, I babysat that car. I'd park it in the furthest spots, away from any other vehicles, wipe down the dashboard every morning, and eating in it? Unthinkable. Marcus would laugh, but he got it. He'd seen the spreadsheets, the budgets, the nights I'd come home utterly exhausted from double shifts. Meanwhile, Madison had been between jobs for about 7 months. Her last gig was a receptionist at a dental office, which she quit because her boss was too demanding about showing up on time. Before that, a boutique for 3 weeks, deciding retail wasn't her calling. Our parents, of course, covered her rent, car insurance, phone bill, everything. Their rationale? She was finding herself and needed support during this transitional period. The Sunday before the crash, we had family dinner at my parents' house in Naperville. Madison, as usual, arrived an hour late, sporting a new outfit that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Mom had made pot roast, and as we all sat around the table, Madison launched into her latest career musings. Maybe going back to school, perhaps for interior design or nutrition. She hadn't quite decided yet. "That sounds great, honey," Mom cooed, passing her the mashed potatoes. "Your father and I can help with tuition once you figure out what you want." I bit my tongue so hard I almost tasted blood. I'd paid for my own nursing degree, working nights at a diner while taking classes during the day, graduating with $30,000 in student loans that I was still chipping away at. "Riley, how's the new car?" Dad asked, clearly attempting to deflect. "It's perfect," I said, probably smiling a little too wide. "I'm obsessed with it." Madison rolled her eyes. "It's just a Honda, not a Mercedes." "It's her Honda," Marcus interjected, his voice tight. He'd grown increasingly frustrated with my family's dynamics. "She worked hard for it." "I didn't say she didn't," Madison shot back, a practiced sweetness in her tone. "I'm just saying everyone's acting like she bought a Bentley." Mom, ever the peacekeeper, jumped in. "Girls, please, let's just enjoy dinner." The conversation moved on, but I caught Madison staring at me a few times. That expression of hers. I couldn't quite decipher it. Annoyance? Jealousy? With her, it was always hard to tell. She'd perfected that mask of indifference over the years. The following Friday, I worked a brutal 12-hour shift that left me utterly wiped out. I got home around 8:30, showered, and was in bed by 9:30, unheard of for me on a Friday night. Marcus was out of town for work, so it was just me and Netflix, except I fell asleep during the opening credits of some show I can't even recall. My phone rang at 1:47 in the morning. I know the exact time because I stared at the screen for a solid 10 seconds before my brain processed anything. It was Madison's number. Hello. My voice came out scratchy with sleep. Riley? Oh my God, Riley, please don't be mad. She was crying, or at least making crying sounds. There was an accident. I sat up so fast my head spun. Are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm fine. I'm totally fine. She paused, and I heard someone talking in the background. It's your car. My stomach dropped. What about my car? I borrowed it, and there was this truck, and he came out of nowhere. You borrowed it? I was fully awake now, throwing off my blankets. Madison, you borrowed my car without asking me. Your spare key was at Mom and Dad's house. And my car's in the shop. Your car's in the shop? I was practically yelling. Since when? Since Tuesday. I was going to tell you, but you've been so busy with work, and I needed to get to Emma's party in Lincoln Park, and I didn't think you'd mind. You didn't think I'd mind? I was pulling on jeans, searching for my shoes. Where are you? She gave me an intersection in Wicker Park. I made it there in 20 minutes, breaking probably half a dozen traffic laws in Marcus's car, which he'd left at my apartment. The scene was bathed in the harsh glow of police lights, and I spotted my car immediately. The entire front end was a crumpled mess. The hood was accordioned like aluminum foil, the bumper lay on the ground, and one headlight dangled by its wires. A spiderweb crack spread across the passenger side of the windshield. I stood there, frozen, my brain struggling to process that this twisted metal had been my perfect car just hours ago. Madison sat on the curb, wrapped in someone's jacket, talking to a police officer. When she saw me, she sprang up and ran over. Riley, thank God. It wasn't my fault, I swear. This truck just... Ma'am? The officer approached us. Are you Riley Patterson? Yes. My eyes were still fixed on the wreckage. That's my vehicle. He nodded, flipping open his notepad. Your sister was driving. According to witnesses, she ran a red light at approximately 1:15 a.m. and collided with a pickup truck. The other driver is fine, minor whiplash. Your sister refused medical attention. I'm completely fine, Madison insisted. I told them I didn't need an ambulance. You ran a red light? I finally turned to look at her, really look at her. Madison, were you drinking? I had like 2 drinks, maybe 3 hours ago at dinner. I was totally fine to drive. The officer cleared his throat. We administered a breathalyzer. She blew a 0.07. The legal limit in Illinois is 0.08. She'd been driving drunk in my car. The truck had the right of way, the officer continued. We're citing your sister for failure to obey a traffic signal. The truck driver is within his rights to pursue damages. I felt like I was underwater. Sounds muffled, vision blurry around the edges. Can I see the damage report? He showed me the paperwork. The other vehicle, a Ford F-150, had damage to the driver's side door and front quarter panel. My car was totaled. Even I could see that, and I knew nothing about cars. The estimate at the bottom of the page made my knees weak. Madison grabbed my arm. Riley, I'm so sorry, but insurance will cover it, right? That's what insurance is for. I pulled away from her. You weren't authorized to drive my car. You took my keys without permission and drove drunk. I wasn't drunk. I was barely over the limit, under the limit. And it was just one stupid light. One stupid light that destroyed my car. A tow truck arrived to take what was left of my Honda. I had to sign papers, take photos for insurance, and answer questions while Madison sat on the curb, scrolling through her phone. When we were finally done, it was almost 4 o'clock in the morning. I need a ride home, Madison said, standing up and brushing off her jeans. I stared at her. Call an Uber. I don't have money for an Uber right now. Come on, Riley. Don't be like that. Be like what? Mad that you stole my car and totaled it. I didn't steal it. I borrowed it, and it was an accident. Why are you being so dramatic? I left her standing there and drove home in silence. Marcus called around 6 a.m., having seen my text, and I broke down on the phone with him. He offered to fly back early, but I told him to finish his work trip. I needed to handle this myself. Saturday morning, my parents showed up at my apartment unannounced. Mom had brought muffins, as if carbs could fix this situation. "Riley, honey, we need to talk about last night," Dad said, settling onto my couch. "Madison told us everything," Mom added, setting the muffins on my coffee table. "It was an accident, sweetie. She feels terrible. She should feel terrible." I was still in my pajamas, having barely slept. "She stole my car and drove it drunk." "She didn't steal it," Dad corrected. "She borrowed it without asking." "There's a difference." "Is there?" I shot back. "Because in both scenarios, my car is destroyed." Mom reached over to pat my hand. "Your insurance will cover it. That's what it's for." She wasn't an authorized driver. My insurance might not cover anything. They exchanged a look, and I saw what was coming before Dad even opened his mouth. "We'll help sort it out," he said. "But Madison is your sister. You need to forgive her. She made a mistake." "A mistake?" I stood up, too agitated to sit. "She's been making mistakes her entire life, and you two keep bailing her out. When does she face actual consequences?" "That's not fair," Mom said, her voice taking on that wounded tone she used when she wanted to guilt me. "We've always treated you girls equally." I laughed, and it came out bitter. "Equally? You paid for Madison's apartment when she dropped out of community college after one semester. You bought her a car when she was 18. You've given her money every single month for years. I paid for nursing school myself. I paid for my car myself. And I've never asked you for a dime since I turned 18. You were always more independent," Dad said, as if that explained everything. "Madison needs more support. Madison needs accountability. There's a difference." Mom's eyes filled with tears. "Why are you being so cruel? She's your baby sister. And I'm your daughter, too. But you're here defending her instead of acknowledging that what she did was wrong." The conversation went in circles for another 20 minutes. They wanted me to tell Madison I forgave her, to not make a big deal out of the insurance, to keep this in the family instead of letting it become some big drama. I refused. They left, disappointed, Mom clutching her muffin basket like I'd personally attacked her. Sunday, Madison came over. She'd clearly been crying, her eyes red and puffy, and she was wearing one of her comfortable outfits, yoga pants and an oversized sweater, her uniform for when she wanted sympathy. "Riley, please," she said the moment I opened the door. "Can we talk?" I let her in, though I didn't want to. We sat in my living room, the silence suffocating. "I really am sorry," she started. "I know I messed up. You drove drunk in my car without permission and totaled it." I know, but it was an accident." The light changed really fast, and that truck came out of nowhere. "Madison, you ran a red light while impaired." The truck didn't come out of nowhere. It had the right of way. She wiped at her eyes. "Why are you being so mean about this? It's like you want me to suffer." "I want you to take responsibility." "I am." I said I'm sorry. "What more do you want?" "I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I want you to realize that you can't just do whatever you want and expect everyone to clean up your mess." She stood up, her sympathy act evaporating. "You've always been jealous of me. Ever since we were kids, you've resented that Mom and Dad treat me differently. They treat you differently because you've never grown up. You're 24 years old, Madison. You should have a job, pay your own bills, be a functioning adult. Not everyone wants to be a boring workaholic like you," she snapped. "Some of us actually want to enjoy life. Get out." "What?" "Get out of my apartment now." She grabbed her purse, heading for the door, then turned back. "Mom and Dad are going to make you forgive me. They won't let you destroy this family over a stupid car." "It wasn't just a car," I said quietly. "It was 3 years of my life." She rolled her eyes and left, slamming the door behind her. Monday morning, I called my insurance company. The conversation went about as well as I expected. "Miss Patterson," the agent said, "I'm looking at your policy. Your sister wasn't listed as an authorized driver." "I know. She took the car without permission." "Did you report it stolen?" I hesitated. "No. She's my sister." "Then, from our perspective, You allowed her to use the vehicle. Unfortunately, this significantly complicates your claim. My stomach sank. What does that mean? It means we'll need to investigate further. There may be coverage issues. The other driver's insurance has already reached out about damages to their vehicle as well. I spent an hour on the phone, transferred between departments, explaining the situation over and over. Eventually, they assigned an investigator to my case and told me it could take weeks to resolve. That afternoon, my boss called me into her office. Linda had been my supervisor for 3 years, and we had a good relationship, but her face was serious when I sat down. "Riley, I got a call from a lawyer this morning," she said. "Representing a Mr. Thomas Shaw." My mouth went dry. "Okay. He's suing for damages and medical costs. His attorney wanted to verify your employment and income." "Medical costs?" The police report said minor whiplash. Linda shrugged. "I'm just telling you what I was asked. I wanted to give you a heads up that this might get complicated." It already was complicated. I went home that night and pulled out every piece of paperwork I had. The police report, my insurance documents, photos of the damage, receipts showing my payment history for the car. I was organizing everything into a folder when Marcus got back from his trip. He took one look at me, surrounded by papers, and wrapped me in a hug. "How bad is it?" "Bad. Insurance might not cover it because Madison wasn't authorized. The other driver is suing. My family wants me to just forgive and forget, and I'm out a car I worked 3 years to buy." Marcus sat down across from me. "What do you want to do?" That was the question, wasn't it? What did I want? I wanted my car back, but that wasn't possible. I wanted my sister to face consequences for once in her entitled life. I wanted my parents to stop enabling her and actually parent for once. I wanted someone in my family to acknowledge that what happened to me mattered. "I want justice," I said finally. "I want her to face the consequences of what she did." "Then let's make that happen." Tuesday, I called a lawyer. Amanda Rodriguez came highly recommended from a nurse I worked with who'd been through a nasty divorce. I met with her that afternoon, bringing my entire folder of documentation. Amanda reviewed everything carefully, asking precise questions, taking detailed notes. When she finished, she sat back in her chair. "You have options," she said. "You could file a police report for unauthorized use of your vehicle. You could sue your sister in civil court for damages. You could let the insurance companies battle it out. Or you could do all of the above. What do you recommend?" "That depends on your goal. Do you want financial compensation, or do you want accountability?" "Both." She smiled. "Then we proceed on all fronts. But I need to warn you, this will likely destroy your relationship with your sister, possibly your parents, too." I thought about Sunday dinners, Christmas mornings, birthday parties. I thought about every single time Madison had gotten away with something while I'd been held to a different standard. I thought about my crumpled Honda sitting in an impound lot somewhere. "I understand." Amanda nodded. "Then let's begin." The first step was filing a police report for unauthorized use of my vehicle. The officer I spoke with was the same one from the accident scene, and he seemed unsurprised. "Family situations are always messy," he said, typing up my statement. "But legally, she took your car without permission. That's unauthorized use." "Will she be arrested?" "Probably not immediately. We'll file the report. The prosecutor will review it, and they'll decide whether to press charges. Given the circumstances and the accident, there's a good chance they will." Next, Amanda filed a civil suit against Madison for the value of my car, the insurance deductible, the increased insurance rates I'd face, and additional damages. She also sent a demand letter to my parents, as they own the house where Madison had access to my spare key. "This part is strategic," Amanda explained. "Your parents facilitated her access to your vehicle by keeping your spare key accessible. It's a bit of a stretch, but it applies pressure." The third piece was dealing with the other driver's lawsuit. Amanda reached out to his attorney, explaining that Madison was the driver, not me, and they needed to pursue her for damages, not me. "They'll argue that as the owner, you're liable," Amanda said. "But we'll fight it, especially with the police report showing unauthorized use." Everything was in motion, and then I waited. Marcus tried to keep me distracted, taking me to movies and dinners, but my mind was constantly on the situation. I checked my phone constantly, waiting for updates. Thursday evening, my mom called. Riley Marie Patterson, what have you done? I pulled the phone away from my ear as she continued yelling. When she paused for breath, I said, I filed charges against Madison for taking my car. She's your sister. How could you? She stole my car and totaled it, Mom. Did you really think I'd just let it go? We're family. We handle things privately. You handle things by enabling her. I'm handling things through the legal system. Dad got on the phone. Riley, this is going too far. Madison made a mistake, and you're trying to ruin her life. I'm holding her accountable for her choices. That's not the same thing. The prosecutor called her today. She's going to have a criminal record because of you. She's going to have a criminal record because she drove drunk and crashed a car that didn't belong to her. I didn't do that. She did. Mom grabbed the phone back. If you don't drop these charges, you are no longer welcome in this family. The words hung in the air between us. I waited for her to take them back, to apologize, to realize what she'd just said. Instead, silence. If that's how you feel, I said quietly, then I guess that's how it is. I hung up before she could respond. Marcus found me on the couch 10 minutes later, ugly, crying into a throw pillow. They chose her, I sobbed. I knew they would, but they actually did it. He held me while I cried, not saying anything, just being there. When I finally calmed down, he made me tea and ordered takeout, and we sat together in quiet solidarity. Over the next few days, the voicemails started coming. My mother left 6 messages, each one angrier than the last, calling me selfish, cruel, vindictive. My father left 3, trying the disappointed approach, saying I was throwing away my family over pride. By the 4th day, I'd had enough and blocked both their numbers. Friday morning, Amanda called. The prosecutor is moving forward with charges against Madison, unauthorized use of a vehicle, and the DUI-related traffic citation. She'll be arraigned next week. What does that mean for her? Likely probation and fines for a first offense, possibly community service. But she'll have a criminal record. I waited for the guilt to hit me, but it didn't come. And the civil suit we filed? She has 30 days to respond. Given that she has no income, we'll probably end up pursuing your parents' assets to satisfy any judgment. They'll hate me forever. Riley, Amanda said gently, they already chose their side. Now you need to choose yours. The arraignment was the following Wednesday. I didn't attend, but Amanda called me afterward with an update. She pleaded not guilty as expected. We have a pretrial conference scheduled in 3 weeks. Her public defender is going to try to negotiate a plea deal. The lawsuit from the truck driver? His attorney agreed to pursue Madison directly. They're amending their complaint to remove you. We also filed a counterclaim for your damages. Everything was progressing, but I felt hollow. Madison had tried to contact me through social media, sending long messages about how I was destroying the family, how everyone thought I was a monster, how I'd regret this someday. Work became my sanctuary during those weeks. The hospital was the one place where my competence mattered more than family drama. I threw myself into extra shifts, volunteering for the most difficult patients, staying late to help the night crew. My colleagues noticed the change in me, but most were kind enough not to pry, except for Patricia, a veteran nurse who'd worked the cardiac unit for 20 years. She cornered me in the break room one afternoon while I was mechanically eating a sandwich I couldn't taste. Whatever you're going through, honey, don't let it consume you, she said, sitting across from me with her coffee. I've seen too many good nurses burn out because they tried to bury their personal lives in work. I looked up at her, surprised by the sudden tears that sprang to my eyes. My family hates me. Then they're idiots, she said matter-of-factly. Anyone who works with you knows you're solid. You show up. You care about your patients. You don't cut corners. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. Her words meant more than she probably realized. In a time when the people who were supposed to know me best had turned their backs, having colleagues who saw my worth helped me keep going. Marcus's family filled some of the void, too. His mother, Diane, invited me to their family dinner the Sunday after my parents had disowned me. I almost said no, feeling like an intruder, but Marcus insisted. Mom specifically asked for you to come, he said. She knows what's happening, and she wants you to know you have a place at our table. Sitting in their dining room in Oak Park, surrounded by Marcus's parents, his sister Rachel, and her husband, their 2 kids running around. It was overwhelming. This was what family dinners should feel like. No tension, no walking on eggshells, no waiting for someone to say the wrong thing and set off an argument. Diane passed me the roasted vegetables and squeezed my hand. "Riley, you're always welcome here." Always. I had to excuse myself to the bathroom to compose myself after that. Rachel found me a few minutes later, dabbing at my eyes with toilet paper. "My brother loves you," she said, leaning against the door frame. "And from what I've seen, you're exactly the kind of person who deserves that love. Whatever your biological family is doing, that's their loss." These moments of kindness from virtual strangers made me realize how twisted my normal had been. I'd spent so long accepting crumbs of affection from my parents, always feeling like I had to earn their approval, that I'd forgotten what unconditional support looked like. The insurance company finally made their determination about 10 days after the accident. I was at work when Amanda called, and I stepped into an empty patient room to take it. "It's not great news," she started. "They're denying the claim based on the unauthorized driver clause. However, they are covering the liability for the other driver's vehicle since you own the policy." My legs felt weak, and I sat on the edge of the hospital bed. "So, I get nothing. Not from your insurance." "No. But this actually strengthens our civil case. We can argue that Madison's actions directly resulted in your financial loss, since insurance won't cover it. The settlement amount might be higher than we initially discussed." Higher settlement meant more money for my parents, which should have made me happy. Instead, I just felt tired. The whole situation had stretched on for weeks, and I wanted it to be over. "There's something else," Amanda continued. "Madison's attorney reached out. She wants to meet with you, with me present, to discuss the situation. She's claiming there are extenuating circumstances we don't know about." "What kind of circumstances?" "She wouldn't say over the phone, but she implied Madison has information that might change your perspective." I almost laughed. "Let me guess, she's going to try to manipulate me with some sob story?" "Possibly. But legally, we should hear what she has to say. You don't have to agree to anything, and I'll be there to protect your interests." The meeting was scheduled for the following Thursday at Amanda's office. I took a personal day from work, unable to imagine going in afterward, regardless of how it went. Marcus offered to come with me, but I needed to do this alone. Madison showed up with her public defender, a tired-looking man named Robert Brennan, who seemed less than thrilled with his client. My sister looked different, thinner, with dark circles under her eyes, her usual polished appearance replaced with jeans and a plain sweater. We sat across from each other at Amanda's conference table, and the silence was suffocating. Robert cleared his throat. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, Miss Patterson. My client wanted an opportunity to explain her situation." "I'm listening," I said, keeping my voice neutral. Madison twisted her hands in her lap. "Riley, I know you hate me right now. I deserve it. But there's something I never told you about why I needed the car that night. You said you were going to a party?" "That was a lie." She looked down at her hands. "I was going to meet someone about a job. A real job, not just some retail position Mom and Dad would approve of. It was a bar manager position at a late-night lounge in Lincoln Park, and the owner wanted to meet me after the place closed at 3 a.m. I knew if I told Mom and Dad, they'd lecture me about working in a bar. And if I told you, you'd judge me for not having my life together." I stared at her, processing this. "So instead of being honest, you stole my car and drove drunk." I wasn't planning to drink, but I was so nervous about the interview, and Emma called while I was getting ready, saying she was at this wine bar nearby. I stopped for just one glass to calm my nerves, but then Emma kept ordering more, and I lost track of time. By the time I left, I realized I was going to be late. I was driving there, trying to figure out if I should still go, and that's when the accident happened. Amanda leaned forward. "Miss Madison, this doesn't really change the facts of the case. You still took the vehicle without permission and drove while impaired." "I know," Madison said quickly. "I'm not trying to excuse what I did. I just wanted Riley to know that I wasn't being malicious. I was trying to change, to be better, and I screwed it up, like I screw up everything." Looking at my sister across that table, I saw something I hadn't seen before. Genuine remorse. Not the performative tears she usually deployed to get out of trouble, but actual recognition of what she'd done. I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on work, on Marcus, on rebuilding my life without my family in it. 2 weeks after the arraignment, Amanda called with news. Madison's attorney contacted me. She wants to settle. The criminal charges? Those are separate. She's going to plead guilty to the traffic citation and do probation. But the civil suit, she wants to settle. Or rather, your parents want to settle on her behalf. How much? Amanda named a figure that would cover my car, the deductible, a year of increased insurance premiums, and attorney fees. It was fair, maybe even generous. What do I need to do? Sign the settlement agreement and agree not to pursue further damages. The case goes away. You get your money. Everyone moves on. And Madison, she'll complete her probation and the criminal case will be resolved. The unauthorized use charge is being dropped as part of the plea deal, but the traffic violation stays. I thought about it for a day. Marcus said it was my decision, that he'd support whatever I chose. In the end, I signed the settlement, not because I forgave Madison or because I wanted to reconcile with my parents, but because I needed to move forward. The money came through 2 weeks later. I used it to buy another Honda Accord, this one a year older, but in perfect condition. I also paid off a chunk of my student loans and put the rest in savings. Madison completed her probation successfully, I heard, through mutual friends. She apparently got a job at a salon doing reception work and was actually keeping it. My parents never reached out to apologize, and I didn't contact them either. That was 3 months ago. Marcus and I got engaged last week. He proposed at the same dealership where I bought my new car, which was cheesy and perfect. We're planning a small wedding, just close friends. I sent my parents an invitation, not because I expected them to come, but because I wanted them to know I was moving forward without them. They RSVP'd no. The note from my mother said they couldn't support a wedding that celebrated how I treated family. I cried when I read it, but not for long. Marcus reminded me that family isn't just blood. It's the people who show up for you, who support you, who hold you accountable and love you anyway. My coworker Jessica asked me if I regretted how I handled everything. I thought about it, really considered it. No, I said finally. For once in my life, I stood up for myself. I set a boundary and enforced it. Madison faced consequences for her actions. Maybe that makes me a bad sister or a bad daughter, but it makes me a person who respects herself. Looking back, I see how years of watching Madison get away with everything had built up inside me. The car was just the final straw. But it wasn't really about the car. It was about being valued, being heard, being treated like I mattered too. The funny thing is, I don't miss my family as much as I thought I would. Sunday dinners were always stressful. Holidays were exercises in biting my tongue, and every interaction felt like a performance. Now I have peace. I have Marcus. His family has basically adopted me, and my friends have become my chosen family. Sometimes I wonder if Madison learned anything from this experience. I doubt it, honestly. People like her rarely do. But I learned something. I learned that I don't have to set myself on fire to keep other people warm. I learned that it's okay to demand respect and consequences. I learned that sometimes the only way to win is to stop playing the game entirely. My new car sits in its designated parking spot. And every time I see it, I smile. Not just because it's mine, but because it represents something bigger. It represents the moment I chose myself over keeping the peace. The moment I decided my hard work and sacrifice mattered just as much as anyone else's feelings. Would I do it again? Absolutely. In fact, I'd do it sooner. I wasted years trying to maintain relationships with people who didn't value me. The only regret I have is not standing up for myself decades ago. Madison recently sent me a friend request on social media. I stared at it for a long time before clicking delete. Maybe someday we'll reconcile. Maybe we won't. But it won't be on her terms anymore. If she wants a relationship with me, she'll have to earn it. She'll have to show me through actions, not words, that she's changed. Until then, I'm building my own life, surrounded by people who actually care about me. I'm planning a wedding, advancing in my career, and saving for a house. I'm doing all the things I put off while trying to maintain family harmony. The best revenge isn't making someone suffer. It's living well despite what they did to you. Every day I wake up in my apartment, drive my car to work, and come home to someone who loves and respects me. I'm getting my revenge. Not against Madison, really, but against the version of myself who thought she had to accept less than she deserved. So, yeah, Madison crashed my car. My parents tried to force me to forgive her. And when I pulled out that insurance report, that police report, those legal documents, suddenly nobody was smiling anymore. They thought I'd roll over like I always had. Instead, I stood up. And you know what? It felt amazing.